Slovenia is the only country in the world that managed to become wealthy without adopting capitalism. Unlike other countries that became rich by embracing capitalist systems, Slovenia followed a unique path, starting from its time as part of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia consisted of 8 autonomous socialist regions, each managing its own economy, and Slovenia was the only one to develop into a wealthy region within this system. Before socialism, historically, Slovenia was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, giving it a unique economic start. The empire invested in Slovenia's infrastructure, schools and government, encouraging local development and involvement in governance. By the time Yugoslavia was formed after World War I, Slovenia had a head start in managing its economy compared to other Yugoslav regions, which helped it become a model of economic resilience. After World War I, Yugoslavia was one of Europe's poorest countries. While the government borrowed money to build factories, there was a significant lack of expertise in constructing modern infrastructure. Slovenia tried to address this by establishing a university in 1919 to train people in fields critical for economic development. The Great Depression in the 1930s and fluctuating global food prices left Yugoslavia in debt, halting economic growth. Germany's invasion in 1941 changed everything. Command economy. After World War II, Yugoslavia implemented a command economy where the government controlled nearly every aspect of economic life, setting production targets, determining factory output, and controlling prices. The aim was to create equality by ensuring everyone received the same resources based on their needs. This rigid system faced numerous challenges. Factories that were inefficient were funded just as much as efficient ones, and workers had little ability to improve or adapt processes due to bureaucratic red tape. Quality suffered, and there was no incentive for improvement since there was no competition. After the first 5-year plan failed, it became evident that a centrally planned economy could not meet the country's needs. In 1948, Yugoslavia split from the Soviet Union, which allowed the country to reform its economy and move away from strict Soviet-style communism. Reforming socialism. In 1951, Yugoslavia began experimenting with a different economic model called Yugoslav socialism, or titoism, named after its leader, Josip Broz Tito. Recognizing that rigid command economies stifled growth, the government started to decentralize by creating worker councils. These councils, made up primarily of workers, were given the authority to manage daily operations and decide how businesses should run. This gave workers the incentive to improve efficiency, as profits were now shared among employees. Making the system more dynamic and responsive to market needs, businesses could set prices within government limits, compete with each other, and even earn profits, introducing a form of market socialism. Although decentralization initially led to economic disruptions and job losses, it was especially beneficial for Slovenia. The Slovenian government invested in sectors that could generate economic growth, such as foreign trade, and promoted the development of the port of Koper, which would become a critical trade hub for the region. This port connected Slovenia with global markets and helped establish the country as a gateway between the East and West during the Cold War. Market self-management. With these reforms, the Yugoslav economy, particularly in Slovenia, began to grow at an impressive rate of around 6% annually from the 1950s to the 1980s. This consistent growth, driven by the principles of market self-management, was uncommon at the time and marked a stark contrast to other socialist economies. Workers in Yugoslavia, especially in Slovenia, enjoyed higher incomes and greater autonomy. By the 1970s, Slovenia had achieved wealth levels comparable to other European countries like Ireland and Spain. When we look at Slovenia's GDP per capita had exceeded $10,000, which qualified it as a rich country by the standards of the time, defined as a GDP per capita of $7,620. For comparison, Slovenia's per capita output surpassed that of the average person in Ireland or Spain, though it remained slightly below the Western European average of $15,000. Achieving this level of wealth was particularly remarkable, given that Western Europe had industrialized nearly a century earlier, making Slovenia's growth an impressive economic accomplishment. Foreign trade and open borders. In 1965, Yugoslavia opened its borders, allowing citizens to travel and work abroad, as well as inviting tourists to experience a socialist country firsthand. This decision had 3 major economic benefits for Slovenia. First, the tourism industry boomed as Westerners were curious to see Yugoslavia's unique socialist model. Second, many Slovenians found employment in Italy, Austria, and West Germany, sending money back home and boosting the local economy. Finally, this openness increased foreign trade, enabling Slovenia to specialize in industries where it had a comparative advantage. Slovenia leveraged its position to import goods it couldn't produce as efficiently and focused its economy on what it could produce well, such as textiles and heavy industry. Free market socialism. By the 1970s, Slovenia had evolved into a free market socialism system, combining elements of socialism and capitalism. Businesses could compete in a relatively free market, self-managed by workers, and regulated by a socialist government that controlled essential resources like water. Why Slovenia succeeded? 5 key factors set Slovenia apart. First, Slovenia had less corruption due to its historical ties with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which left it with stronger institutions. Second, Slovenia avoided political instability by establishing free trade zones, attracting foreign investment and creating economic stability. Third, Slovenia's wealth allowed it to maintain social programs that supported the economy, unlike poorer regions that struggled to fund these programs effectively. Fourth, Slovenia tolerated bankruptcies, which enabled inefficient companies to be replaced by better ones, promoting economic efficiency. Finally, Slovenia's proximity to Western Europe allowed it to engage in profitable trade, further driving its economic growth. The end of Yugoslav socialism. Slovenia's growth story under Yugoslav socialism came to an end in the early 1990s with the dissolution of Yugoslavia. Tito's death in 1980 led to a leadership vacuum, and the economic strain grew as Yugoslavia sought loans from the West, which required it to transition to capitalism. Slovenia's economic transformation was extraordinary. Within 40 years, Slovenia had transformed from a region of poor farmers into one of the most developed parts of Eastern Europe. While other former socialist states struggled with the transition to capitalism, Slovenia successfully adapted and remains among the wealthiest post-socialist countries today, on par with nations like the Czech Republic and Poland. And there you have it, the unique story of Slovenia, the only country to achieve wealth without adopting capitalism. Slovenia's journey through socialist experimentation, market self-management, and economic resilience. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Slovenia's economic history, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Tree's Economy for more insights into the world's economic stories and systems. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.